you put it back an issue, which I understand. It's going to be
not
hard.
an issue, but it was
No,
made an issue.
No, well, I ruled it out of order yesterday. It was not allowed to be an issue.
Okay.
Now, it seems to me that Senator Heflin has a right to go back and question now on that issue.
On this particular issue, I have no problem.
Fine, okay. Because I cut Senator Heflin off, and I still think it's beyond. I don't think he should have to answer questions about his conduct at EEOC in terms of what his policies were. But if that's the case, then it's going to be hard for me to fairly sit here and rule that one person can ask those things that relate to one type of administration of that issue, and another senator cannot ask countervailing questions. But I just want to make that point.
Well, I appreciate it, but the real purpose of this is not to go into the matter any deeper than Senator Heflin did, but just to rebut what was said in his questioning. And that's the only reason I'm doing this. And I don't want to go any further. I don't want to particularly open up the whole issue, although, I'm sure he'd be happy to discuss it. But I think, frankly, let me just do this. I think you'll see why it's relevant under the circumstances.
No,
I didn't object
think it is
to
relevant. I just want you to make
no,
sure
but I
you
mean,
understand.
As a rebuttal to what was said.
Well, there was no rebuttal. I cut the senator from Alabama off. Go ahead.
After a number of comments were made, I want to clarify.
Fine.
Maybe I should have objected earlier, but I didn't, and I think this needs to be clarified. Now, again, I repeat, I believe most of the relevant information is contained in confidential files there at the EEOC, which I think the EEOC maintains as confidential, unlike the Senate Judiciary Committee. There were a number of other of such charges brought and processed, you've just said, within the EEOC. You handle these matters, right?
That's right.
And these cases would have been investigated by the General Counsel's Office with dispositions recommended by that office and then approved by yourself as chairman of the commission itself. Is that correct? Is that a fair statement?
It would be approved by the whole commission.
Now, just to the specific point, I want to give you a chance to speak on it. Now, reference was made earlier today to the Harper case, or last night to the Harper case. In November of 1983, the very time relevant to today's charges, you sent a memorandum to the General Counsel of the EEOC, David Slate, in which you concurred in a recommendation to terminate Mr. Harper's employment because of sexual harassment charges, and that you specifically noted your view, your individual view, that termination is severe, a punishment as it is, was in that case, quote, too lenient, unquote, punishment.
I generally remember either handwriting that on the memo. I felt very strongly that he should have been fired. And that was my view at the time. I felt and continue to feel that individuals engaged in this conduct should be fired. And that's the approach I took at EEOC.
Well, there are a lot of other things that I could go into to show that you've been a champion in this area for women. You've been a champion in many ways for a lot of us. I've taken way over the allotted time, but I felt it was essential because I really am starting to become, more than I have been, outraged about the way you've been treated. I've been outraged over the way this committee has treated you, and I think Senator Biden and Senator Thurmond did everything they should have done. They handled it like every prior difficult decision. And the chairman, I have great respect for him for that. But somebody on this committee has abused the process, and I'm not going to be happy with just an ethics investigation. I don't think anybody is.
I'm going to order one, though.
I want you to order an FBI investigation. I want an investigation by real, appropriate, non-Senate staffers. I want some people who aren't affiliated with the Senate to look into this matter, because I think that's the only way we even have the slightest chance anyway of getting to the bottom of it. And then we probably won't. But if we're fair, this is not, as I said at the beginning, the nomination of a justice of the peace to the county to some small county in some small state. This involves the very integrity and fabric of our country. And I also want to say that the burden of proof is certainly not on Judge Thomas. This is America. This is America. The burden of proof is on those who use statements that are stereotypical statements. I thought when we were talking about stereotypes that we were talking about The Exorcist and some of these things that apparently some very bright minds out there have found to help make this dramatic in a destructive way to these good people. Mr. Chairman, I'll come back again and try and finish my